Now let's get ready to welcome our next set of speakers on a very interesting industry talk, which is on the topic of architecture of change, collaborative work for sustainable future. So let me introduce our panel for this session. The session is moderated by Tipnis, founder and principal, JTCPL Designs. With a robust domain experience of almost a decade, in 2002, Tipnis founded JTCPL Designs, an architect-led design-build firm which functions in the corporate commercial space and till date has successfully evolved fit-outs for leading entities nationally and internationally. The firm now has presence in various geographies, including India, UAE, Jordan, Malaysia, Egypt, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Indonesia, and Cambodia. So welcome to our eminent moderator of the session. Let me now introduce our speakers in the alphabetical order. Our first speaker, let me introduce Ms. Kavita Sastry, Principal Architect, KS Designs, and Chair, IIID Bengaluru. Kavita Sastry design philosophy is a simple marriage of aesthetics and practicality. In 2016, she initiated a community design studio at Institute of Indian Interior Designers, Bangalore regional chapter. It focuses on doing pro bono design for community projects in Bangalore. This collaborative studio has completed numerous government schools and orphanages, including the restoration of the 108-year-old government school in Murphytown. Our next eminent panel member is Ms. Nidhi Aggarwal, founder Spacemantra. With a rich industry experience of more than 18 years, Nidhi is an engineer by qualification and an innovator by passion. Fueled by her drive to address the pain points of the interior design and construction industry, she has launched Spacemantra, a B2B online marketplace for construction materials and interior fit-out products. Our next panel member, I introduce Ms. Pallavi Matkari, Chief Design and Sustainability Officer, Runwal Group. With professional experience of over 18 years in architectural design, Pallavi has an extensive experience in designing, planning, managing, and executing projects in a 24/7 environment. She brings to the company innovative designing ability, aided with extensive knowledge of materials, resources, planning, and staff development, and human resource management. Our next panel member, I introduce Sabeena Khanna, founder, principal architect, Studio KIA. Sabeena has over 35 years of professional experience. She is a fellow member of Indian Institute of Architects, associate member of Indian Institute of Interior Designers, national president, architecture, WICCI, and PhD CCI Delhi, founding member of Women Entrepreneur Committee, Architecture and Interiors Forum, and is also member Housing and Urban Design Committee. Next member of this panel is Sheetal Bhilkar, founder and director, Urja Building Services Consultants. Sheetal is an industry veteran with over 28 years of experience as an MEP consultant. She has expertise in engineering design, sustainability, cost management, and business development. She has worked on a variety of projects from data centers, industries, townships to high rises and IT parks. Sheetal is a president TRW community, co-chair Women's Wing FSAI Mumbai, and member ISHRE and Naredko Mahi. Our next and final member of this panel, let me introduce Shibani Jain, founder CEO Baaya Design. Shibani Jain has a career spanning 3 decades. She has worked with the corporate sector and for last 20 years has worked extensively with various craft groups across India. Shibani founded Hand for Handmade in 2020, a platform that helps artisans, craft producers, and designers to scale up through collaborative and knowledge support. So this is our eminent panel, and Architect Tipnis, I hand it over to you now.
Thank you very much, Sapna. Good evening, ladies. It's wonderful to be moderating this panel, and I'm just waiting to dive into this ocean of wisdom I see in front of me. You know, when I was studying this subject, it is such a deep and such a multi-layered subject that you know I thought of arriving at certain foundational points first, and then understanding your individual journeys so that we lay a context for the audience. Because in 60 minutes covering sustainable future and architecture for change is quite the task Realty Plus has laid down for us. So I would like to commend Realty Plus for the Women Icon Conclave and Awards. Thank you for putting together such platforms, which allows us to converge and have knowledge sharing platforms like these. So I will just lay down my context and my perspective as far as collaboration is in terms of being an instrument to cause sustainable change using architecture as a catalyst. And so over the years, what we have seen is essentially architecture is a convergence of capabilities, and architecture, by the very nature of the discipline, has always been collaborative. One cannot thrive in architecture without collaboration. And if there was one thing I were to pinpoint, which has remained constant over the centuries when it comes to architecture, it is the convergence of capabilities which brings forth newer and newer content. And this content has led to emerging credibilities and therefore building new communities. And my panelists today, they have such fabulous individual journeys that I just cannot wait for them to unravel parts of it in this limited time we have together. So without further ado, and in no specific order, I would like to set the context by asking a foundational question to the ladies on this panel, which is, what is collaboration for you? And in your individual journeys, how have you used the catalyst of collaboration to bring about a change for a better future? And if I may, can I start with Shibani?
Thank you so much, Anand, and happy to start the conversation. So I am a designer, and for me, I have been working in the craft space and with Artisans of India for the last 20 years or so. And for me, collaboration is really looking at the cultural connect that I see in their work, and the roots that they remind me of every time I go travel to a place and I see an artisan working. I see the incredible skills they possess and how they have lost touch with today's markets. And the markets are here with us in the urban cities, who are basically architects, designers, corporate institutions, who will actually be able to give them the income that they truly deserve. And for me, collaboration is both with the artisans on the one hand, where I bring in their skills for interiors, and I also collaborate with architects and interior designers to put those skills into very good use and make them contemporary and in the context of today's time. And the connect is so important, because only when one looks at cultural arts or cultural forms of being, one realizes how much soul and depth is there and how deeply we actually connect with our own identity through these forms. So for me, the collaboration is through this medium of crafts and cultural arts that a big differentiation can be made in how we choose to accept them in our lives.
Thank you so much, Shibani. Sabeena, let me proceed to you. And you have a multifaceted kind of journey. So it'll be very interesting for us to know what your definition for collaboration is and how you have used collaboration furthering your journey.
Thank you, Ninad. Collaboration, as you rightly said, the very word architecture is defined by collaboration, and like great things in buildings are never one-person effort. It's always done by a team of people. And collaboration, and since we are into pure architectural consultancy and we are doing architecture projects, so the collaborative process basically begins with the place, with the site. You start collaborating with the site itself, for us, and that is important. And then giving it the identity to the culture or the tradition of the place, and then of course the economics gets involved. So that is where, that is which begins the process of collaboration for us for every project. And then we have external collaborations, as you said, which are an expansion of this process. And That includes the experts from various disciplines who contribute together, to the stability of the project, its efficiency, and the quality of the project. So for us at Studio Kia is, our design firm. So we've always believed in a very collaborative, a communicative, and a very contextual approach. For us, that is the extension of collaboration, is the communication and the context, which is very important, and that transcends all use, purpose, the aesthetic, and the function to create the end architectural product, which needs to be meaningful, for us. And though each project is uniquely different and reflective of the cumulative experience and the expertise that our team brings together. So here you have the collaboration of architects and engineers and consultants and designers and the clients. And so for us, each project is teamwork from the word go, and that is how it is. And we've actually had different collaborative typologies throughout our decades of practice at Kia, and each one of them having a very individualistic significance. If I can just very quickly put forth a few examples, is that, many a times we have done a project with a client where we have invested ourselves way beyond than our commitment or our scope of work, to the extent that we have formed a kind of an association or a bond with the client where he has disbanded his own design team. So that is like a next level collaboration that you manage to end up doing with your client,
Sure.
And another interesting example that I would like to do is a project very close to heart where we were doing is government schools, the redevelopment and the redesigning of government schools all over Goa, And so that was a project of upgradation of the schools that we had done. And this included mixed bagged schools across all talukas of Goa, from primary to secondary, to high schools. And they were in the remotest of areas. So what we did was actually, though we got a brief from the client, what needs to be plugged in into every school, we actually put in a team in place. We sent in that team to every corner of Goa where these schools were located. And here our collaboration became with the end user. So we actually went and interacted with the teachers on there. Some schools had only one teacher and 2 students. The principal, to the extent of going and even interacting with the parents of the girl students there, because for the reason that they were not sending the students to school, because they said there was lack of amenities. There was no basic toilets, hence we could not send our girls. So the schools were not functioning, not because the built infrastructure was not there, but because the students didn't want to go. So that for us was a collaboration at the next level of where we were actually interacting with the end user. We were actually extending that extra bit of what the client had given us the brief. So the entire brief had to be redone with the client. So that for us is, again, collaboration is going that extra bit to make sure that your project becomes a sustained effort. And it has a sustained future when we are talking about. And of course, we know that collaborative initiatives have also come to be post-COVID, which have a different connotation, and people have had the need to regroup and rethink and reassess, probably to make their businesses and works, work actually. And so to be able to emerge from this pandemic, and that sort of a collaboration is a new paradigm shift that one needs to, keep an eye on too. And so that for us has been collaboration at various levels across our practice.
So true, so true. And aren't we all passionate architects guilty of going beyond the brief?
True.
So, it's a very common thing we see here. Let me now go to Kavita. Sabeena mentioned government school intervention, and which brings me to Kavita. And there is a shining example in the repertoire of her works. And I would come to that later, but let me get to the first question, which is, Kavita, for you, how has collaborative effort enhanced and helped you grow as an architect?
So thank you, Ninad, and thank you, Reality Plus, for having me on this panel. So my collaborative, like you said, architecture is a extremely collaborative discipline And like Sabeena says, it's all about teamwork. We may do the designs, but we need somebody to execute it. And it's not just one, usually multiple teams. So we need to really this collaboration mean. It is, I think, it is empowerment. We are empowering each other when we collaborate. And it is the only way forward. Sabeena said, it was a paradigm shift, pandemic. So collaborate, yes, it is up to us to make it sustainable. So here I'd like to very quickly talk about my collaborative journey, how it started. Actually, I was sitting in my studio here and a bunch of residents walked in. And there's this little park they were trying to kind of rejuvenate, neighborhood park. And there was a very old, so they, can you, do something about it? Can you redesign it for us? Because we're looking for a library, plus we're looking for a place for all of us to have our meetings. So these were from the Residents Welfare Association, from the neighborhood. And and then they told me we can't pay you anything for it. So here I'm sitting there in my studio and I'm like, yeah. So I said, okay, fine, I'll, do it because I live here. This is my neighborhood. And I think we need to own our neighborhoods. We cannot live detached. We need to be we need to participate in what's happening in our street, in our neighborhood. So I said, sure, I'll do it. And somehow we managed to do it. And it came out. And it got me thinking. Then in how many ago, I kind of there was this NGO that wanted to refurbish a government school, like what Sabeena was saying, and they wanted to convert it into part of the classrooms into a children's dormitory. There were these kids who had needed to be looked after, to be housed there. So that got me thinking that alone there's only so much I can do, but as part of Triple ID, it gave me a platform to start something which would make change. So I got the week, actually during one of our sessions, I got this idea about Code Studio, where apparently in New York, it's mandated that every architect dedicates 1% of his time to community service. So I said, why don't we, as architects in Bangalore, we are only cribbing about the infrastructure, road, about the traffic. Why don't we do something? So why don't people come to us? Why doesn't the government approach us? Why don't they come to architects and say, hey, design this? Is it because we are expensive? Is it because we are elite? We said, why not give design free and only to projects that are worthy? So we made this little model where we said, that a project that comes through an NGO so that it's validated, we don't waste our time. And the other thing is, what also happened is that I started collaborating with different firms for every project, so that other people, other architects in the community also got a chance to kind of participate and engage. So I think that was how Code Studio started. And yeah, I'm hoping that this is just the beginning.
Thank you, Kavita. Let me now go to Nidhi. Nidhi, I must compliment you on your wonderful backdrop. It's really very impressive. Welcome to the panel, Nidhi. Kavita spoke about platforms, and I think you're the only panelist. Probably, I think Shibani has started something new, but you have started an e-commerce platform where you aggregate materials and all that. So I'm very intrigued to know how has technology helped you in furthering collaboration. So part A could be, what does collaboration mean to you? And how did this idea of an e-commerce platform come about?
Right. So thank you, Ninad and Reality Plus, for having me here. It's really a great honor to be amongst panel of great architects over here. So yes. So collaboration, definitely. So first of all, let us understand what sustainability is, right? Because what I understand is that sustainability is such a broad term. It could mean different things to different people and different stakeholders, right? So depending upon their knowledge or their domain or their circumstances. So first, what we need to do is that we need to define set goals or set SMART goals for sustainable development. So which could be specific, measurable, attainable, time-bound, and relevant. So once we have these set SMART goals for sustainability, then we need to work towards collaboration. Because the way a traditional construction, design construction goes in India or everywhere is that there are so many stakeholders involved, definitely. Like everyone here agrees that architecture needs a lot of collaboration. So definitely you have your project owners, homeowners, your interior designers, your consultants, your contractors. So there's such a lot of, so many stakeholders involved that collaboration really becomes very tricky in the construction industry as a whole. And so this is where, you know, we got this idea that this industry needs consolidation. So that was really the pain point that we are trying to solve, is to bring technology and to integrate this industry by bringing in some one-stop solutions. So wherein everybody from architects to designers to contractors and to project owners, they could find a meaning to be where things could be easily accessible to them. So for example, now if we talk about sustainability, we all understand that use of green building materials, it is one of the major reasons that can help us reach sustainable development. Now, yes, we've talked about ESG and these compliances earlier, but if we look at the general society as a whole, not everyone is aware that, you know, how we can, how they can contribute towards a green construction. So mostly people would think that these products are very expensive. They would not give them a good ROI, and it would not be profitable to invest in these kind of building materials. So over here as a technology platform, what we can do is to increase awareness amongst the general population as a whole, that green building materials is something that, yes, it is something that is easily accessible and is something that would generate good profits in the near future. So if I talk about ourselves, like at Spacemantra, we are partnering with many brands and manufacturers who deal into such kind of products. So for example, if I take one example, we have partnered with Khadi India Prakritik Paints. So now this is a paint that is made out of cow dung and has many natural benefits. So giving a brand visibility to such kind of products, making them accessible to the general public in a whole is something we can really, you know, as a technology, we can create awareness and having such platforms. So then, of course, there are, I mean, you guys are the experts. So there are so many products. You have fly ash bricks, AAC blocks, you have so many green boards and plywoods, and number of materials that one should really use to, that could help in sustainable development. So over here is a collaborative effort. So what a platform like ours could help in achieve, or other platforms that are there in this domain, is that how the products that architects or interior designers recommend, so could be made more accessible to the public. So one is that, yes. So then in other ways also, if we could lead to delivery methods, if we could innovate methods that would lead to greener delivery methods and sustainable methods in delivery and procurement. So this entire supply chain management also, it would be, it could really contribute to sustainable development.
Thank you, Nidhi. Now I come to the only engineer probably on the panel. Sheetal, engineers. Sorry?
Engineers. We are all engineers. Architecture is engineering as well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Engineers are natural collaborators to architects. Sheetal, I would like to know from your perspective, what does collaboration mean, and how has it been collaborating with a bunch of architects, evolving all these projects you have evolved so far? And what does the future look to you in terms of sustainability and using your collaborative skills? How do you see that furthering the vision?
Thank you, Ninath, for the question, and thank you, Realty Plus, for having me here. So I have long journey in this industry. So I started 20 years back, nearly from home, and I'm an electrical engineer myself. So I started as a electrical consultancy, and later on in 2008, collaborated with a plumbing consultant. HVAC consultant, and started a MEP consultancy. So collaboration started from there in my journey, and definitely over the last 20 years, my company UBAC has worked on more than 650 projects. So we have designed different type of projects, right from IT parks, data centers, hospitals, then institutes. So the experience is wide, and we get opportunity to work with various architects, various stakeholders like green building consultants, and there are lighting designers, PMCs, and everyone, And definitely collaboration to us is, as a MEP consultant, we more have to work with architects. Definitely we have to see to it their aesthetics we are taking care of without hampering their spaces, and we have to be very particular about how much spaces we are taking for our equipments. So collaboration starts from there, where we are taking accurate spaces, nothing beyond what is required. That is where the collaboration starts. And I think collaboration is more than it is giving more than which is expected from you in any project. So while designing any project, you should look at it as a different project, and what value engineering you can do for that project. So suppose if it's an institute, so you have experience of so many institutes, so what different you can do for this institute, but particularly not something what you are doing for years together, you are doing it that for that project also. So definitely that makes a lot of difference when you collaborate with the partners and try to give something different for that project. So as per my company UBAC, we always tries to give something different, like few years back we did office for India First at Goregaon, Mumbai. So there we had given them daylight harvesting solution. So that time it was very new, 10 years, 10, 12 years back, it was very new solution for them. So we went out of our comfort zone. We worked with architects and designers, and then we gave them the solution. So I think as a professionals, we have to look at the project in that way, collaborate with each other and give the best for that project. And looking at the future, like I think your next question was about sustainable future. So definitely as a MEP consultant, we play a major role in designing any project. So because we work on the important aspect of energy and water conservation. So I think India slowly, the development is slow, but it is constant, and I think I'm looking out for a brighter future for our country, and people are thinking about sustainability, and sustainability mindset is developing. I think mindset is what is required, or we can say a sustainable wisdom is required at individual level also, to go further. Then only we can have a sustainable future.
Thank you, Sheetal. Which brings me to our final panelist, Pallavi. Pallavi, you had the design initiative at a prominent developer, and you've done thousands of residential units. You are multidisciplinary, very versatile kind of platform. What has your experience been in terms of as an architect, how do you ensure that you infuse collaboration at a strategic level in a developer's office, and B, how do you ensure that it translates into tactical action on ground?
Thanks, Ninad, for that question. It's quite a quite a all-encompassing question, and thank you, Realty Plus, for having me on this panel. Basically, I think one of the most important parts, as far as my role with the developer goes, is instead of doing apartments for somebody whom you know, you're doing these for people whose faces, whose cultures you're not aware of, and therefore it needs to be more of a understanding of who is it that you're designing for, not as a specific person, but as a specific people, as a specific demographic. And so collaboration starts for us at a very different level. It starts even from the very project brief, or for that matter, in terms of the kind of sizing, etc. Because this collaboration is kind of the precursor to the whole architectural exercise that we do as architects, which is what would do well in the market, why would it do well, what is necessary, what is not necessary, and so on and so forth. On the other hand, what happens is you also need to make sure that the technicality kind of goes and sits with the whole vision and the dream that we have for the project. And it only becomes necessary that you make sure that everything is orchestrated so it kind of comes and falls in a place. Like all the other panelists have also mentioned, architecture itself is a very, very collaborative kind of field. And to add to it, when you add in, aspects of sales requirement, marketing needs, how you present the product to the customer so that he sees or she sees value in what is being given, I think it becomes very, very essential as a role to kind of manage design more than actually physically design. So it's necessary at that time to kind of have an open mind. It's actually very interesting because various people come with various thought processes, even if the same profession exists. You get a plethora of ideas, and you can always pick some discussion from one particular logic and kind of connect it to another one and get into a much larger, much fulfilling kind of role for the project. As far as your second question is concerned, it is essential that we make sure that whatever we are building is in line with the thought of whether it's the right decision for a future which is right, rather than creating a constraint in the future. And I think that is an aspect that we need to kind of look forward to, because this is something that you're designing for somebody who's going to come and take possession of it after 5 years, and they need to be able to take it through. It should not be that, I made something and then it's not something which they can, operate, or there's a problem because the costs are too high. So it needs to be a fine balance between the two. And sustainability is something which is, I think, we as a country are in a position right now where we need to jump into a moving train. The train is already moving. So we have no choice. We have to push ourselves, get that first run, and then board the train.
Thank you, Pallavi. That was a very interesting point you made. That how do you build that relay mechanism while the project is on drawing board, and ensure that the user segues into your strategy and then takes it further. Great. Shibani, I'll circle back to you, and you have an art/artisanal background, and with that perspective, I know for a fact that you work with a lot of rural folk, and you've taken initiatives where you've kind of catalyzed their actions into your endeavor. And so would you like to throw some light on that, and could you share with the audience some dominant examples which come to your mind?
Sure. So basically, if you're asking me about the artisanal connect, so what it does for us is that it helps artisans to preserve these age-old skills if we give them work. And on the other hand, it also helps artisans to learn what the market wants today and be able to stay in step with the markets of today. In the past, it used to be the kings who used to work with the artisans, and they were both in the same place. Today, the artisans are in rural places, and we who are the designers and the architects are in the urban cities. So the market has got divorced from the production centers, and
Sure.
crafts has always been an income generation industry. And we have always worked with crafts in step with the market. So the gap is to make them understand what is the need of today and work backwards from there to recreate and reinvent their thinking around their skills. And that is the connect that architects and interior designers can make powerfully in their interiors. So one example that I want to give you is, when crafts take a pride of place, it is truly a different experience. We did this top financial bank, and where we did 9 floors of cultural art, and each of those cultural artwork modified to suit very brand-based themes. So it was unity, success, brotherhood, community building, oneness, working together as a team. And we worked with a number of different art forms, whether it was, Bengal art to show community building, whether it was the environment, which was shown through the earthy terracotta forms of banyan tree. And we, or at the top floors, we showed some very abstract renditions of mandala art to talk about, how the concept of working in peace and harmony. So all of these, the artisans could actually understand and were able to translate for this financial bank a completely different identity than what they have traditionally done. And this is something that was so unique and so powerful that, people have said that I never thought that cultural art could be used in this way or, innovated in this way. So if we give them a chance to rebrand and reposition how they think of their own skills, I think there's a huge connect there that we can make with the rural world. They can avoid migrating to cities. They will get money where they are in their places of work. Their women will get empowerment, and they will get money because it's a large portion of sustainability actually is with the women. And if they get empowered, the entire family gets empowered. Women do a lot of arts and crafts in their homes. And also the whole concept of preservation of culture and the connect that we can do through this, medium.
No, it's amazing. There are so many layers in what you described, and this example of a financial institution adapting rural arts is a wonderful example of history dancing with technology.
Yes.
So thank you. I cannot resist the temptation of asking you to share something about Hand for Handmade, because the time is running fast. I don't know whether we will get a chance to have one more.
I was just talking about Baaya. In my other company, Baaya, this is what we do. But in Hand for Handmade, it's come out as a response to the COVID times. And we are bringing together support for artisans in multiple forms. It can be in the form of working with a few clusters and helping them with capability building. So we are teaching them things around business planning. We are mentoring them around how to look at their production, materials, costing. We are giving them design inputs. We are giving them inputs on how to market themselves and make visibility, make visible their brand or talk about their brand. And through Hand for Handmade, there are 3 craft clusters that have done quite well in the last 1 year despite the COVID times. And we have also, on the other hand, started something called Handmade Academy, which will be up very soon, where we are putting on a lot of information and learning onto the Infosys Springboard platform, where there will be free learning tools available for the artisans, for designers in the artisanal space, and for young entrepreneurs in the artisanal space to learn from and grow faster. So Hand for Handmade is involved in these 2 aspects of work right now.
No, it's commendable what you're achieving through the platform to sustain livelihoods in rural places so that they don't have to migrate. And that itself is such a strong move towards sustainability. Thank you, Shibani. I would now like to come to Sabeena, and in the brief interchange we had as a run-up to this discussion, we spoke about this latest baby of yours. You're doing this community project, and where you're involving the village folk. I would like you to speak a bit on that and tell us how the experience has been, and as an architect and as a practitioner over the decades, how does that make you feel?
Sure, Anand. Firstly, before I get to the exact question, I'd just like to take one thing. You did note and compliment on Nidhi's backdrop. I said, just in case if you all are taking on this backdrop, this is a very temporary. I'm in a hotel room. I've been part of a conference since morning. I'm part of the ASSOCHAM Gen conference, and I have to excuse myself from the convention center, take a temporary hotel room within the same place to ask them that I need to hop on a call for an hour. So just to put my backdrop in perspective, lest everybody thinks I'm actually talking from a bedroom. So
spoken like a guilty conscious architect.
No, I just, since you pointed out Nidhi's backdrop, I thought let me make that clear.
Thank you, thank you.
I love Shibani's backdrop as well.
Of course.
I think it's really pretty.
Very arty. It's very, very arty.
Thank you so much.
So, okay, getting to our project, yes, our latest baby that you said. It is more of a project of passion, Ninad, for us. It is something that started and triggered 10 years ago. So that's when Rajiv and I, we are both the outdoor person. Rajiv is my husband, also an architect, and we run our studio together. We are both the outdoor people. We'd rather be walking up the hills rather than sitting and watching a Netflix in the evening. So we decided to go to Kasoli, to the hills, and pick up a bit of land, a small bit of land for ourselves to make a small cottage, a second home for ourselves. And that is when this whole journey began. And we went and bought a piece of land. And as architects would like it, it was on the top of a hill. It was about 500 feet above our land, above the road that we had. So that was a point of ingress to our landlord that we picked up. And we decided to then make a road to our little plot up there where we could build a house. And it so happens that because sustainability is so ingrained in you, we did not want to just choose the shortest distance possible and make a winding road. So we actually chose a gradual slope where we had to do a minimum cut and fill. And we landed up picking up a stretch of almost 1.5 kilometers that led up to that little piece of land. So, and then what happened is once you're doing that in the village, people get to know that there's somebody picking up land. So the people, the villagers who had landlords alongside that bit of stretch of road that we were picking up kept coming and, like, we want to sell, I have a need at home, humko ghar banana hai, ya meko beti ka shadi karna hai. And that little bit of picking up that landlords, it took us 5.5 years, and across almost 150 registries with villagers. Long task, but we picked up almost 60 bigas today from the 2 bigas that we went to make a land, make a home for ourselves. So now that project, from that very moment, I feel from the way when we were buying it from these villagers, became a collaborative effort. It became an effort with the local community, So they started feeling it as their own project within that village. And that is where we are now doing is luxury villas. And when I say luxury villas, I don't mean luxury in terms of flashy materials. I mean luxury in terms of fresh air, clean drinking water, a connect with nature, and just being out there in the open under the stars at night. So for us, that is the luxury villas that we are doing. And it's a project, it's a real estate project. We are going to be, selling the villas, but we are designing them, we own them, we are building them. And so people started saying, who is your developer? Who is your builder? Only then you'll be able to sell your project. We got in somebody from Delhi, friends of ours from the, you've been in the trade for so long. And we took 2 of them there. We interacted with them. And then we suddenly realized, no, this is not it. They just don't fit here. This is something that's going wrong here. And we can't be doing this. So we just approached the Sarpanch of the village and we said that we want to reach out to the local community. You have masons and labor here and people who understand the local typology. And that whole process started. And this started about 4 years ago. And so we have the village community, the people coming from that local 3-4 villages around where we have our land lot. And we have them coming and working. They keep growing in numbers as per our need. They've become more like a family. We understand them. We know their families, their requirements. So they are the people who are actually working with us on that project. It is a hillside. They understand. I'll give you a small example. We were breaking ground for the first villa, a sample villa, and our foundations were being dug. And these people were digging the foundations, and suddenly 2 people who were digging the foundations come to us and say, you'll have to just shift the villa by a few degrees. And we told him, no, but that'll upset everything. And they said, no, because we understand that the soil below here, or the rock here is too hard. You won't be able to do the foundations. If you shift it by this given degrees, you'll be able to set right everything. Now, that, in other words, I would have had to have a geologist or somebody coming in to do the needful, but these people, they understand the region, the soil, the earth and everything. I have a gentleman, Shanuram. He is a 72-year-old man who's quarrying my stone on that site because he's passionate about it. Alongside my site, he has a larger land holding than mine, but he's working here because that is his passion. And we have quarried all our stone from our site to use on our site for our roads, for our foundations, for our cladding. We have a different bunch of villagers who are actually chiseling the stone for our cladding. We have a different lot who's pulling out the very thick 8-inch thick stone, and actually we are laying our stone roads. I have 1.5 kilometers of a stone road that has been laid by the villagers. Our retaining walls are loose dhaji stone walls. So it's a local construction technology that we've brought. We've involved this community. It is a very satisfying project. We are trying to be as sustainable as we can be there. We are doing local landscapes.
Is it me or we've all lost?
No, we can't hear her. Yeah, I can't hear her either. So
Yeah, I think
maybe
problem
we
with
can
her
come back.
network. Yeah.
I think she's dropped off the call.
Maybe we can go to the next
Yes.
panelist.
So Kavita,
That's me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I have to ask you about this community design studio, and you spoke about the institute being a platform to catalyze this collaboration. And so why don't you take us to this government school in Murphytown, if you will?
So this Code Studio, we've done a lot of projects where most of the projects we've had interventions in smaller areas, like, government schools want to upgrade the toilets. Akshay Patra, they serve the meals, but they wanted a clean, hygienic space to serve the meals, for the children to sit down and eat. So, but in this school, which was built in 1913 as an elementary school by the British, there was an enormous opportunity, because the entire building, it was not a very big building, but it was a beautiful structure. The entire structure was intact, and it needed to be restored. So this project actually came to us through an NGO. They already had funds. They said, we have a sponsor who wants to dedicate their CSR funds to this project, but we have no idea how to go about it. So what we did is that we went to the site, mapped the entire structure, from the floor, doors and windows, to the roof beams, the entire thing, and we gave them a proposal on a step-by-step restoration and the costing, most important thing. Here, since I, at that time, did not have any experience in restoring structures, I reached out to Intac. So Pankaj Modi, who was with Intac at that time, we were, I was connected to him, we were friends. So I reached out to him and I said, look, this is, I need help. And we need help. We need to figure out how to do this correctly. So he put me on to a contractor who does only restoration work. This guy has restored buildings. His name is Mahesh Niganna, and he has restored structures in Chennai, in Mysore, and like the Jai Lakshmi Villas mansion in Mysore, the Santhome Cathedral in Chennai. So I realized that, though there are many contractors who can do this job, how do I ensure? So that was a responsibility that we took up at Code Studio, not just giving the proposal and making sure that the right person is appointed for the job, and it is restored in the right way, and the funds are utilized properly. Because, they were like 100-odd-year-old teak trusses up there, and it's okay for anybody to just take it away overnight, because we can't be there 24/7. So we collaborated with Intac on this project, and of course, went and when the sponsor, which was for Asia in this case, they make motor parts for luxury cars. So when they saw the proposal that it had been put forward by an institute, by this group of architects, they were convinced, and they signed up, and the whole process started. So this, like I said, there was a century-old teak wooden trusses. There were wooden doors and windows. We had to restore it. And the beauty of this was that this entire heritage structure was restored in less than 7 months. Mm-hmm. And it was repurposed as the admin block for that school. So I don't know if you know, but most of government schools have amazing amount of land, and beautiful site. So we were able to work and get this thing done. And and it was very interesting. So when I went and met the CEO of Faurecia, Mr. What was in Inderjeet. So he said that he was very personally invested in it. So I was like, what inspired you to collaborate or get onto this journey and contribute to this? So he says, I am a product of a government school. Wow. So I wanted to, put it out there that we support this, and who knows how many more CEOs and CFOs are in there. So it is our duty to encourage and support. So I think that's where it was a success, because every party that collaborated, that was invested in this project, whether it was for design, whether it was for the financial aid, whether it was for the how do I say, social change, which the NGO was invested in, or it was for actually passionately restoring it in the right way, which the contractor was invested in that.
Sure.
So I think that is why this project was a success. It came out well because every party was invested in it for the right reasons. So yeah, that in very brief. I mean, I wish I could show you the pictures and all, and he actually when he went to the site, he had this big mixer, like an idli dosa batter mixer, a grinder, where he was churning out the lime plaster, the way they do it, they did it traditionally. So it was such a treat to see all those things happening at site. And we did a red oxide floor, and again the layers which he got from Chettinad, they were able to do such a fabulous job. So I think it was a coming together, a collaboration, an collaborative effort of so many people. And it's a very small school, but I think it gave us all a lot of satisfaction. I mean, at times I was more excited going to this site than going to my real time, projects which for my bread and butter. So yeah, so this
wonderful example of an institute hubbed mastermind alliance, and the credibility which an institute gets is just amazing. So thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Pallavi, I'm going to jump straight to you and the volume of projects and the work you do. You come in contact, like you said, you come in contact with so many stakeholders, so many participants in your process,
Right.
faceless, nameless participants in your process. But alluding to what you said, and keeping locational contextuality as a part of your brief, how do you do that public-private kind of collaborative evolution of your projects? I'm really intrigued to know that.
So I think like I think Shibani mentioned earlier, that there is some amount of consciousness in the people in terms of what they are buying. I think that is one very, very good thing which is happening. So they are ready to look at something which is more sustainable. They want something which is more sustainable. Also, the whole COVID has put a lot of things about our lives in general in perspective for a lot of us. And therefore, it becomes kind of easy to kind of navigate there, because that these are not anymore choices that you're making because they sound nice. Now it's more hygiene, that you have to think about water, you have to think about energy, and you have to think about how things will run. These are all specific requirements now, because people are interested in knowing. I think it's also the way the whole partnership works is, as developers, we are ready to do something. If we are ready to do something and the client is ready to buy it, it only makes it much more fruitful for both of us, because then you're moving into a future-proofed kind of development. You're saying that, okay, fine, it is taking into cognizance a lot of things rather than creating the problem for the future. It also is necessary that that somewhere I feel the regulatory regime that we have is very, very quantitative. It needs to become more qualitative, because what will happen in that case is there would be a semblance of everybody on the same page, which I think is something that we should drive at. yes, to a certain extent, there is a very high level policy decisions which are made. But I think because the development is parcels of a lot of people coming together, and regulatory happens to be one of them, and one of the most important ones also, because what happens is you and I may think as architects that this is necessary to do, a client may think this is required for me to do, but if regulatory says I can't let you do it, then we are doomed. Because finally, at the end of it, all of us are in the business of making these developments which are for the future and which will sustain themselves.
Sure. Thank you, Pallavi. Let me proceed to Sheetal. And Sheetal, what do you see the future as in terms of these critical services and the way? I mean, we always had ESG, right? We just didn't have a name to it. But I think ESG is ingrained in the Indian DNA. I mean, look at examples of what Sabeena and Kavita shared. These are, and Shibani, these are shining examples of ESG brain tattooed onto Indians. Where do you see India being an ambassador in showing the world? Look at the volume of work we are doing, and your particular typology. I think there is humongous work being done in India. Some of the largest developments of word giants happen to be in India. So what is your take on that? Where do you see us going 20 years from here in terms of critical services?
Sorry. So lot of development is happening, and frankly speaking, developers also, if you look at the next generation has taken over now, and they are also ready for understanding what are the sustainable measures they can take for the projects, or what are the new technologies which are available in the market. So in my last 28 years of journey, I have seen that steady change in the mentality of people, and people are going forward and thinking about what are the technologies which are available. So I have seen this journey from very closed this thing, and I think the kind of technologies we are using, like if you talk about AI in MEP, so that technology we are using in our projects. So in BMS also we are using this kind of technologies, and as a consultant also we are proposing this technologies to clients, and people are exploring all this technologies and everything. So, and I think we are at the age where we are witnessing that change, and I see a very bright future for us in this industry also. People are going forward with using different technologies. Like I'll give you a small example, we used to use traditional cables over the years in the buildings. Now we are moving forward for the bus ducts, and developers are accepting it, which was very difficult earlier for us to convince also to developers to use this kind of technologies. But nowadays, if you in Mumbai also, like all, not only the big developers, even smaller developers are understanding these technologies, and they are implementing it also. So I think I see a really bright future in Indian construction industry, where all these technologies and everything can be used.
Thank you, Sheetal. Final question before I hand over to Sapna is to Nidhi. Nidhi, where do you see this e-commerce platform gaining traction, and how have you seen aggregation of sustainable products helping you further the cause? So we are looking at a layer of technology, we are looking at a layer of sustainability, and there is this reality of traction. So how does that mix come together?
Yeah, definitely we have a vision to be a one-stop solution for when it comes to digital procurement of materials. And in this regards, as I told that it is, it is the duty of everyone and all platforms like ours to make these brands or these products more accessible to everyone and to the population in general. So, but in addition to making it more accessible, it is also important to make it more affordable, right? So, yes, when we talk about big developers or big projects, they are the ones who might find a profitability in it. But our vision would be that we make such sustainable products very affordable to the general public and so. And even if I talk about just before procurement also, if we talk about interior designers and architects, so we would also want a platform to be a product discovery and a price discovery platform for them, wherein somebody, it's like a digital library, so when you are, so we can have a curated list of environment friendly products, so that at the designing and initial stages itself, so these products can be incorporated in the different projects. And then when it comes down to procurement, so when the end user or the end buyer is, as far as they are concerned, so they know where they can reach out to find such kind of products, and they find a profitability in it in general. So yes, the traction, traction is amongst big time contractors and developers, but the traction would also be there among a general homeowner or somebody like Sabeena mentioned in a hillside, you are looking for sourcing local materials. So over there, such kind of thing also, technology would definitely play a major role in price discovery, in procurement, and in supply chain as a whole.
Thank you, Nidhi. Sapna, do we have a couple of minutes? I would really like Sabeena to conclude her experience because of some technological challenge. She dropped out in the middle of a passionate experience sharing. So, if you permit, can we budget 2 minutes?
Okay. Yes, 2 minutes, Sabeena. I think we can conclude with your, experience and project. We'll conclude this session.
So, Sabeena, you were talking about minimal cut and fill, and then we lost you.
I'm sorry, but thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Ninad. Yes. Yes, what I mentioned was that, so the project that we took on, we picked up the road for a minimum cut and fill. And then gradually we kept on adding on the bits of land, and now we are doing our villas, that we are building there. So for us, sustainability was ingrained in that project in the very site selection of it, is that where I wanted to come from. And so now even the villas that we are doing, each villa has an individual siting. It sits on the site. Even if I have 4 villas in a row, each villa is different because of the approach to it, the contours it sits on. I'm not going to cut it. We are not cutting any trees. We are just going around them. We are utilizing our slopes. We've put in place almost 10,000 plants, which are all local species, and the plants that belong to that region. There is nothing that's alien to that region. We've put in a system of drip irrigation that's going to help it. I already have a 7-kilometer long drip irrigation line. And, so the kind of bond that we have now created, not just with the people, with the team with whom we are working, but also with the site where the project stands, So that is the collaboration in the truest sense when I feel that, it is with the process of the very site selection to throughout its building, the life cycle of the project that you're doing, and also with the stakeholders who are building it, who are part of the process with you, So that is a very satisfying collaborative process for us.
I think the dynamic is so robust because you've established a platform of authenticity.
Yes.
And so kudos to you and Godspeed to the project. With that, I hand over to Sapna.
I think that was a fantastic conversation, has been that one, when you are collaborating with communities, it can be more successful and fruitful, results or the projects that come out of that. waiting for the authorities and waiting for the policymakers to work. I think if, experts like you have the passion, I think, we can just go ahead and achieve a lot of fantastic results. And I think kudos to our moderator of this session who brought out collaborations in different fields in different ways of our speakers, whether it is technology, whether it is working on a historical a building with on a government school project, with a corporate community, or working with the local community. I think we have got it, or local craftsmen even. I think we have got it all here on this panel. So thank you, Ninad, for that wonderful moderation and bringing out the best from our speakers and our speakers as well. All our best wishes for your projects from Realty Plus. Thank you so much, Nidhi, for being here with us, Kavita, Shibani, and Sabeena, and Pallavi for being here with us, giving us the perspective how the developers are working on this scheme, because I think for developers it is even more difficult because they don't know the consumer face to face. So it even becomes more difficult to build for them whom you have not interacted personally. Thanks, Ninad, for that wonderful moderation, and thank you very much for sharing your time and expertise with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
Sapna.
Sapna.